All right. What's going on, family? Grand Rising. Hope you guys are having an amazing day today. Currently out in beautiful Orlando, Florida. Sadly, it's a little bit colder than usual, but we make do with what we got. I know for my Pittsburgh fam out there struggling right now, but I'm gonna be back in the Pittsburgh area as of tomorrow. So enjoying the weather, enjoying the sunlight, taking full blown advantage of the weather out here until we got to go back. So, but yeah, with that being said, family, share this call, share the link. We're going to go live on IG in a moment, and then we'll get this call started, family. But for those that are hopping on already, let me know how you feeling. Drop some gratitude. One thing, at least one thing that we're grateful for today. Always have to make sure we show gratitude for the things that we have and not focus on the things that we lack. This is key, family. So just getting ready to go live on IG. Usually I can like copy my title, which is like a really cool feature on the iPhone and the MacBook, but be getting started in the next 2 minutes, family. 2 minutes, 2 minutes, 2 minutes. All right, so make sure. All right, we live on IG. And again, family, welcome, welcome, welcome to Breakfast with Algeron. So happy and grateful for this call. So grateful and happy for just another opportunity just to be better than I was yesterday, guys. At the end of the day, family, it's all about being that much better than the previous day. So, with that being said, family, I have a really, really good topic for you guys. I've been really working towards finishing this book that I've been procrastinating for the longest. You get caught up with so many distractions, family, and it's just like, ah, I wish I had the time. So, no more, right? If you guys were on the previous call, if you guys weren't, you guys need to go back and watch that. But no more second level self talk, right? We're not just saying, I wish I could do better. I wish I could be consistent. We're focused more on the, I'm so happy and grateful now that I'm being better than who I was before. So, the title of this topic, guys, is going to be Seeing Life as Opportunity, Not as a Crisis. And I hope you guys are coming in with open minds, with pen and paper, guys, because it's going to be a lot of good value I'm dropping. So make sure you guys take excellent notes, fam. So let's talk about it, right? So people either perform good or bad under pressure, right? Drop a 111 in drop a 111 in the chat, guys, if you feel like when you're under pressure, you work better under pressure, right? If you feel like, when the chips are all on the table and you feel like, wow, everything has come down to this point and you feel like you perform better, drop a 111 in the chat, right? So for me personally, it was track and field. Each and every single race. It didn't matter how long I was training for, right? I always felt that the weight of my team on my back, right? The moment the moment when you're just sitting in that set position waiting to hear that gun go off, right? You know, you just all these thoughts go through your mind, right? You wonder what the other person's stats are, what the other runners are thinking. But at the end of the day, what I love so much about that event, that sport, is that no matter what's going on with your competitors, with the other people in the track, at the end of the day, it all you're racing against yourself, right? And that's what I love so much about the sport. It doesn't matter what you do compared to anybody else. It's a matter of if you can beat yourself, right? So I always would feel this pressure, right? When I'm in my set position because I'm going through everything's going through my head on what I need to work on, what I need to focus on, right? But I would always feel like even though I was nervous, even though I was worried about how I was going to perform, I always felt like I did better. I always felt like those nerves that you get when you're feeling, almost like a level of anxiety, right? It actually is used as power, right? It's actually used as fuel to help push you to being better than you normally perform. So the reason why I say this is that, you know, in those opportunities, right? In those moments of feeling anxious, feeling afraid, not knowing, what the outcome's going to be, right? Opportunity comes to those known to come through in the clutch, right? And the reason why I love this book, right? The reason why this book has been so helpful for me is because it shows you that to be known for the person to come through in the clutch, it doesn't mean you have to be the best, right? Too many people think that in order to be the person known, right? Be the person known as the go-to person, right? Man or woman, they think that they have to be the best person on the team, and that's not the case. You see, in times of crisis, the situation will bring out, right? To bring out abilities that you normally don't possess, right? Have you guys ever been in the situation where you were just so worked up, you were so anxious and you were just so worried about performing well, and then it turned out that you performed even better than you normally do, right? That's the power of being in those situations of crisis, right? Because essentially we receive abilities and power that we normally don't possess. Now, again, the biggest difference between those that come through in the clutch and those that can't is how they learn to react to the situation or crisis. Now, this is where it gets really, really, really like, guys, this is going to be next level information. I need you guys to really hear this because when you guys really see this message, it's going to be able to apply into your life and you guys will see that the results will actually change phenomenally, guys. Be next level, right? So, a crisis situation is defined as a situation that either can make you or break you. If you respond to the crisis, it's going to give you strength, power, and wisdom that you normally don't possess, right? Respond, it's going to give you power, strength, and wisdom that you normally don't possess. But if you react, it can rob you of your skill, control, and ability that you normally can call upon. So, what does that mean? Guys, it's so important that we understand that we need to respond to situations and not react. How many times have you reacted to a situation and then a few minutes later you tell yourself, oh, wow, I was really in my bag. I was really in my feelings at that moment. I said something I shouldn't have said. I wish I could take that back. And a lot of times we're not happy with the results that we get when we realize that we were reacting to a situation instead of responding. So when you react, it's going to take away the normal skill that you normally have, right? You guys ever get so frustrated with something, right? Think about it. Have you ever gotten so frustrated out of a situation that you normally can do with your eyes closed, but because you can't do it, you start to get frustrated. Because you can't do it, you start to get more upset. And then what happens after that, family? Right? You get frustrated with doing a simple task, and then you start to mess up even more. And now it's just like a ripple effect. It just starts to snowball. And then what ends up happening towards the end of your day, that snowball, it gets bigger. And now you're just so out of it. Now you just everything just irritates you. That's what happens when you get emotional with your day-to-day task. So again, so going back to the person known for coming in the clutch, right? So the person known to come through in the clutch, they're also known as the money player, right? In sports, they're always known to be, the player, the go-to guy, like LeBron, right? Kobe, right? Jordan. They were always known as the money player. The reason why, right, is that the money player has mastered the ability to respond to a crisis consciously or unconsciously. Now, we can do another call on this, but at the end of the day, no matter what your skill set is, you want to get to the point of of unconscious competence, right? Unconscious competence. What does that mean? When you're not even thinking, and you're constantly mastering a skill set. So, for example, right, if you think about if you're working right now, right, you ever get into the point, family, when you're just you in a very modest way, right? you've gotten so good at things that you no longer have to really think about it. It just comes automatically. For example, for people that are driving right now, right? You've gotten to the point where you've mastered driving so well that you can just kind of go into your head while you're driving, right? You guys ever like kind of zone out and you're just naturally just kind of driving, like, oh wow, whoa, where was I for a minute? That's the level of unconscious competence that you want to get to in all aspects of your life. That's where you really reach self mastery. Like my sis said, like my sis Melanie said, it naturally comes to you. So that's what the money player does, right? They've done the skill over and over and over and over again so much that they don't think about it anymore. It just comes natural. That's where in any aspect of life, whatever your goals may be, you want to get yourself to. But it takes repetition in order to do that. And so many people are not willing to put in the reps and they expect to, go to the gym a few weeks and expect to get all the muscle. And that's not how it works. So I want to break down for you guys the three important ways of being able to perform well in a crisis situation, right? The three important ways of being able to perform well in that crisis situation so you can turn the crisis into an opportunity. All right. So let's dive deeper into it, guys. So one of the first ways to perform well in the crisis is learning the certain skill under conditions where we will not be over motivated, right? Being able to practice without pressure. You see, a lot of times we end up in crisis situations, right? Drop a 222 in the chat if you feel like you've hit a certain crisis at some point or time in your life, right? I'll put that in the chat as well, family. 222 in the chat if you've ever faced a real life crisis in your life, right? Now, when we face crisis in our life, obviously it comes unexpected to us. We don't expect a crisis to just land right into our lap, right? No one expects a crisis to just happen, right? Now, in those crisis situations, although we learn, right? Although we learn how to adapt because human beings we're naturally given the ability to adapt to situations, but even though we can adapt fast and learn on the spot, we do not learn well under crisis conditions. For example, in the book it says if you throw a man who can't swim into water over his head, right? It says if you just throw a man into the water, the crisis itself may give him the power to swim safely, right? Guys ever do the doggy paddle, right? I had some family members, some if you got old school parents or relatives, right? Some people believe the best way to teaching somebody how to swim is just to throw them in the water, right? So it says that if you throw a man into the water, he may have find the ability to be able to save himself, right? He learns fast, he manages to swim somehow, right? Even if it's just a simple doggy paddle, but he will never learn to become a championship swimmer. Why? Is because the swimming form that he used to rescue himself becomes fixed. So what you learn in the crisis situation becomes fixed. Your brain, if you ever would have faced that situation again, it goes straight to the what you did the previous time. And it's difficult for someone to learn better ways when they learn in the moment of the situation crisis, right? 9 years old, I just jumped into a 12-foot pool and hope I came back up. Oh man. My bad, family. I got a phone call. But so yeah, so you dive into I don't like when IG does this. Like it should be able to. All right. Are we good, family? I had a phone call and it kind of like distorted my camera a little bit. But going back to the point, if you threw a man in the water and he learned how to swim, he's not going to learn to be a championship swimmer because, mom, chill. Sorry, fam. All right, my bad, family. People keep calling. So Sorry. So, because of his inability to learn without pressure, he may perish in a real crisis where he's required to swim for a long distance. So, just reiterating the point, because I know we kind of like got interrupted on the call, right? So, when you're in the position of learning in that crisis, you do not learn or perform as well because you're learning for your life, right? It's a life or death situation. You're not focused on actually developing a skill set. So when I say how to be able to better yourself in the time of a crisis, learn without it being an actual matter of life or death situation. We learn better when we're not in the actual crisis. So what does that mean for you? Whatever it is that you're working towards, right? Whatever it is that the situation you're working on getting out of, do not learn when it's all on the table, right? Do not learn in the situation where it all comes down to this, because you're not going to be able to master a very valid skill set. And if you do learn something under pressure in the moment, it's not going to be able to be duplicatable. It's not going to be something that you're going to be able to outgrow, because once you develop that way of being able to deal with that situation, you're going to confine yourself continually repeating it. So I want you guys to really understand that in order to really break a cycle, you have to learn with an environment where you're not pressured. You don't feel like it's all comes down to this moment. And when you guys do that, you'll find yourself being able to learn and master better skill sets, not just getting deeper into you're not just learning. I'm sorry, my bad, family. You're not essentially reacting to a situation out of fear of its life or death, right? So the second skill that you need to have in order to master a crisis, right, is you need to learn to react with aggression, right? Too many of us, including myself, we don't have an aggressive attitude. We're being so passive, and when we face opposition, we're just letting it discourage us. You see, the essence of this aggressive attitude, it says here in the book, the essence of this aggressive attitude is remaining goal oriented. Keep your positive goal in mind. That's it. It's no magic. It's no, secret spell. You have to focus on your goals. Stop focusing on what can go wrong. Stop focusing on what you're not doing right. When you keep that positive goal in mind, you keep the aggression. You continue to be on the offense, not the defense. Because when you start to worry about what can go wrong, when you start to worry about your problems, when you start to worry about the situations that aren't going your way, you're defending yourself, right? If you guys know basketball, baseball, any type of sport, when you're on offense, that's when you're making the points. That's when you're scoring. When you're defending, your life is on the line. You go into life or death mindset, right? So when you have a positive goal in mind, you intend to go through the crisis, right? You intend to go through the crisis. You don't just, walk into it, right? It's like dodgeball, exactly. It's like dodgeball, right? So keep your positive goal in mind and do not get distracted into secondary ones, right? Do not get distracted in don't fall into the desire, the impulse to run away and hide and avoid, right? You can't run away from your problems, because guess what, guys? What happens if you try to run away from your problems? What do you think is going to be knocking at your door, right? If you run in the house and you try to run away from your problems, right? Where's the crisis going to go? Where do y'all think the crisis is going to go? If you're really honest with yourself, do you think running away is going to resolve that crisis? No. It's going to be right there, right? I used to, I used to be a little bit rough back in the day, and I remember I got in a fight with the neighbor. Circle back to folks, facts. But I used to, I used to be real. I used to fight a lot when I was younger, right? And I remember I had dealt with this like neighborhood bully, and my mom had basically said like, "You got to fight him." Like if you want him to leave you alone, you have to fight him. And when it was like, something off of a movie, right? Kids, everybody in the neighborhood circling around in my front yard, me in person, squaring up and stuff like that. And at the end of the day, right, this is like my first fight ever in my life, right? So I got punched a couple of times, and I threw some some punches in as well, but I was hurting so much, like, the side of my head like was hurting so much that I didn't want to fight anymore, right? I know one of my buddies out here is an MMA fighter, so I know he'll appreciate this story, right? But at the end of the day, I wanted to go in, but my mom didn't let me go back inside, right? She didn't let me run away from the fight because she told me, if you run away from stuff like this, it's not going to go anywhere, right? If you try to run away from this fight, Algeron, you know, he's not going anywhere. So you either face it or you continually run away from it. But when you run away, that's how you will do every single thing in your life, because how you do one thing is how you will do every other thing in your life. So I went back out, you know, I can't say I won the fight. I can't say I won the fight. But at the end of the day, me and the person eventually, we squashed our beef and we became actual good friends. Now, do I still talk to them? No, because, that was like in a different, back when I lived in New York. But I say this to say, when you face your problems head on, you don't run or hide or, cower behind the door, closed doors, you face it, you will find the biggest blessing is on the other side of that. So I say this to say, guys, keep the goal in mind. Focus on what you want and not what can go wrong. And that's how you keep the aggressive attitude, right? Because too many people are giving their primary attention to secondary problems. You're not focusing on the task at hand. You're focusing on secondary problems. So if you can do this, the crisis situation itself acts as a stimulus, which releases additional power to help you accomplish your goal. So that crisis situation, if you change your perspective on it, if you see it as an opportunity, not a crisis, right? The crisis itself, the situation itself will actually give you more power to face it. When you know that you're fighting for more than just yourself, you're fighting for your family, you're fighting to break generational curses, right? You are empowered by the very situation that you were once afraid of, right? So that's the second way we can better ourselves and learn to respond in a crisis, not react. And then the final way, guys, right? This is the last one. The final way we can turn our crisis into an opportunity is evaluate the crisis in its true perspective. So it says in the book, many people have a tendency to magnify out of all proportion the potential penalty or failure which the crisis situation holds. What that means is we will tend to over exaggerate the consequences of if we failed. We focus too much on what can go wrong instead of what can go right. I'm going to say that again. We focus too much on what can go wrong instead of what can go right. Therefore, we're giving power to the result of things going wrong. We use our imaginations against ourselves and we make mountains out of molehills, right? Essentially, we're making situations way worse than they need to be. And if we use our imagination to see the situation for what it really is, right? If we use our imagination to really see what it really is instead of using it against us, guys, we're turning the turning the crisis into the opportunity. The same way you focus on what can go wrong, why not focus on what can go right? It's only going to benefit you. But you're so focused on the negative, and then when you see the negative happen, then guess what happens? You only validated to yourself that things typically go wrong for you, right? It's all a matter of perspective. right? If you guys ever seen my flyer, that's why I love that quote on there for Breakfast with Algernon, right? It's all about the perspective and how you're seeing it. Stop worrying about what can go wrong. If you live in the reality of what can always go wrong, then everything will go wrong in your life, right? So it says in the book that if you face a real crisis, you got to have a lot of excitement, right? So when you're in that situation, you got to have a lot of excitement. Excitement is potential energy. So many people think that anxiety, they call it anxiety, but realistically, it's excitement. Whether it be fear, anxiety, you know, uh, you know, it's just excitement. It's just potential energy. That's what fear, anxiety, excitement is. It's just potential energy. And the excitement, right? That energy can be used to good advantage in the crisis situation. However, if you sometimes we overestimate the danger of difficulty. I'm sorry, we overestimate danger or difficulty. If you react to information that is faulty, distorted, or unrealistic, you are likely to call upon much more excitement than the occasion calls for. So we get so worried about what can go wrong, right? We can end up bringing in we can end up building too much energy, and it causes us to perform bad because we overestimated the amount of energy needed to tackle on that situation, right? Does that make sense to you guys? Right? It might have went over your head. If you are so focused on what can go wrong, you subconsciously will accumulate more energy than needed to deal with the situation. Therefore, by doing so, because you have too much energy to proportion around, right, to call upon, right, you end up having excessive energy, you tend to perform bad because you overestimated the amount of energy needed to handle that situation. So I say this to say, family, it's important that you really look at the matter for its true self. Sometimes that situation that you think is life or death, it really isn't, right? The situation is not as bad as you're looking it to be. If you really break down, guys, that's why I encourage journaling. If you really write down the problems going on and you look at them, you're like, wow, it's really not that bad. When you are able to identify why you're feeling a particular way, you will find yourself feeling that much more confident in being able to tackle that situation. But it all starts with you taking the time to really analyzing that situation and seeing it for its true colors. So, again, these are the three ways, family, of being able to turn that crisis that you're going through or that might be coming into an actual opportunity. So, again, the first reason is we practice without being under pressure, right? The second was learn to react with aggression. Keep your goal in mind. And the last is see the situation, the so called crisis, for what it truly is. Why are you seeing it as a crisis? Why is it truly a crisis? Why do you feel a certain way? What really could go wrong that has you feeling this type of way? So, with that being said, family, that is the end of the call. I hope you guys got some value. Unfortunately, I have to get my day started, guys. But I love y'all. Have an amazing day, family. Peace and blessings to each and every single one of you guys, and have an amazing day. I got you. Ooh, shit.
You mute how he's like talking in the call. All right. So the way we look at you guys ever heard of common what's it called? I have to remember the terminology. One thing that human common that we develop as a norm, right? Behavior or whatever. All right. So we look at our week and our life. It's like Monday through Sunday, like weekdays and weekends. Why is that? Why the fuck do we do that?
Programming.
Yeah, it's programming, right? But why do we do that? Does entrepreneurs, like real entrepreneurs, look at it that way?
No, I mean that's what society says to look at it. Just arbitrary. You can
Right,
say whatever you want.
Yeah, and I think that's really fucking us up. Like people say like, oh, it's Wednesday, a hump day, TGI Friday. Why is that?
Whenever people clock out mentally whenever the weekend comes.
Yeah, they just mentally check out, right? They think like, okay, I work hard from Monday to Friday, so I get my weekends off. It's like very shitty mentality. It's like how you stay as an employee for the rest of your life. I think that mentality needs to be fixed. I think life is about building a wealth and building something that you can retire
You have Wesley's.
financially.
Oh, he's on Wesley's now?
Yeah.
Free.
No.
But you don't have to work you don't have to work for the rest of your life. There are people like that, right? Now work becomes more like a hobby, right? It's like you do it for fun. It's no longer survival. So I suggest you to stop looking at your weeks and your weekends and help your people, the people around you, impact and influence them. You can be inspiring. And you can change other people's lives because of that. I'm glad that this business changed my life. I would not be happy becoming 32 years old, still living my life Monday to Friday, paycheck to paycheck. This business changed my life.